Hi everyone, my name is Katie Jackson, and today I'm going to be talking to you about progressive web apps, what they are, how they work, and why you might want to build one for your next project. A progressive web app uses all the latest web capabilities to deliver a native app-like user experience. They're great because they're dependable, they use an HTTPS secure connection, and they can be used offline. They're fast because they cache assets and can serve them instantly without making any requests over the internet at all. And they're also immersive, so to the user, the app seems just like a native app. It's full screen, and it seems just like any other native app you might have downloaded to your device. Some of the benefits of the progressive web app experience would include the fact that they're portable, so they work across all browsers. And they're responsive, so they adapt to any device, whether you're using a smartphone, a tablet, or whatever we come up with next. They're installable, so they can be added to the user's home screen and accessed through the icon, just like a native app would be. And they're also linkable, so they're easy to share with your friends just by sending them the link, and you don't have to download it from an app store. So one of the key features to a progressive web app that makes it so interesting to use is the fact that it provides an immersive user experience. So to do that, it uses the web app manifest. In the web app manifest, it stores data about the unique icon that would be stored on your home screen. It just stores the data for your splash screen that the user would see on your app's load. And it would also store some default display characteristics, so some styling and any of the information it needs to navigate throughout your app if you're not actually connected to the internet. The manifest looks like this. It's just a JSON object that stores all of the options that you've specified for your specific app. And another key feature to the immersive user experience is the fact that you can use push notifications. So anybody with a smartphone knows how engaging a push notification can be. And as a developer, you might want to use it to prompt user re-engagement with your app. I know anytime I get mentioned on Twitter, I feel like I have to stop what I'm doing and go see what someone had to say. So they're very useful for that. Another key feature of a progressive web app is that they're connectivity independent. So that's accomplished using service workers. So it provides offline functionality. A service worker is essentially a programmable network proxy, which allows you to control how network requests from your page are handled. It puts you in control of the cache and how you want to respond to resource requests. By pre-caching key resources, you can eliminate the dependence on the network, ensuring an instant and reliable experience for your users. The service workers also support like a periodic background sync. So if you're in a place with a spotty connection and you're using your app and you have internet access and then you lose it and go back and forth, it's not going to interrupt your user experience. And those service workers will also allow for those push notifications to prompt re-engagement. So I have an app that I'm going to demo for you to show you what a progressive web app would look like. This one right here is a fix-it guide that someone from Google created, and this one is really useful because as developers, because they use React Router, and Redux to create it. So it's a great reference for full stack students since we're all very familiar with those technologies. But the app that I'm going to demo for you is a Pokédex. So if you were one of those Pokemon Go players over this summer, this would be very, very handy for you. So you can see we have internet connection, and if I go to Pokédex.org, I can see this very, very handy Pokédex with all these Pokemon loaded, and it's prompting me that this web app is ready to work offline. If I hit more info, it'll pop up and say, that's right, this website actually works offline, and you can choose add to home screen for an app icon. I'll say, okay, cool, and I can go up here and add this app to my home screen. And then if we look at the home screen, the icon is loaded. So I can go from here, see my splash screen, and it will load this app without the browser URL bar, and it feels just bar. It feels just like a native app, even though it's truly a web app. If I choose to place my handheld device in airplane mode like I'm supposed to on my flight home, I can still access all of the assets for my app. I can look at all of the different Pokemon. I can still search for my favorite Pokemon, theoretically. And they should still load all of the data, even though it's not really working. Okay, there we go. So even though I'm offline, all of this is still loading. I can see all of the information and all of the assets that I pre-cached. So if you were going to make your own progressive web app, there's a really handy Google Chrome extension called Lighthouse that will essentially run pre-made tests for you to test your site to see if it's up to the progressive standards. So it takes a few minutes to run, but I pre-ran it for Full Stack Academy's site, which was not designed to be progressive, and also the Pokedex site that I just showed you. So if we look at the output, it looks a lot like all of the other tests that you might run just in your terminal, and it gives you a rating. So for Full Stack Academy, which is not designed to be progressive, it gives you 41 out of 100. And you see that it passes some tests, but not all of them. So it would not be considered progressive. But if we look at the Pokedex one, it gets 100 out of 100, and it passes all of these tests, which means it's up to progressive web app standard. And this extension is very easy to use. It looks like this little lighthouse. You just navigate to the site that you want to test and run generate report. So one of the big questions online that you'll see all the time is native app versus progressive web app. Which should I make, and what are the benefits to using either or? So there are some trade-offs. For a native app, you do have to make multiple code bases, one per platform, which might not be something you're interested in. That's a lot of development for you. With a progressive web app, you only have to make one code base, and it should work for all platforms. A native app, though, the user interface feels a little more tailored to your specific device and its functionality, whereas a progressive web app does have a bit of a one-size-fits-all user interface. So there's a little bit of a trade-off depending on what you're looking for. But all in all, we don't really have to pick sides. There's room for both, and there's use cases for both types of apps. So to recap, progressive web apps are great because they're progressive, they're responsive, they have an app-like user experience, they're connectivity independent, and they're installable and linkable just like a native app. So I've included some additional resources that you guys can check out, an overview of what progressive web apps are all about, a checklist that you can use if you don't want to use Lighthouse, some handy links that would help you migrate an already made app to progressive web appness, to build your first progressive web app, and a link to the demo that is using React.js, React Router, and React Redux. Also, there are some really handy videos from the Google Progressive Web App Summit last September that you guys can check out as well. So for your next project, you might want to consider making a progressive web app. Thank you.